Hi, everybody. My name is Karina Robinson, and I am the school social worker at San Miguel. And I am going to be presenting some information to you that I hope you find helpful. This is my contact information, my email, and also my phone number. And I would love to hear from you, at the end of this presentation and get feedback, or if you have questions, definitely feel free to reach out. Um, so the title of today's presentation is called Distance Learning for Parents, From Surviving to Thriving. And I've had lots of conversations with parents over the last 6 weeks and, at the end of last year. And so I am aware of some of the real challenges and struggles that you're all facing with this pandemic, with distance learning, with work. There's just a lot going on, and I know it's a struggle. And I just wanted to say a shout out to all of you, to our parents and caregivers, aunts, uncles, older siblings, family, friends. It really takes a village, and just want to say thank you for supporting your child and your children with their distance learning. It is tough, but we are going to get through it, and stay strong, and you got this, and we're here to help. The topics that I'm going to be presenting on today are a few different things that I hope will help you as you kind of go through this distance learning, but also just cope with a lot of the stressful things that are going on, and just the new role of being kind of a teacher to your child and helping them with everything that they're doing in their assignments. So we're going to talk about connecting, about providing structure, and lastly about self-care. The first thing we are going to talk about is getting connected. And we are a Leader in Me school, and so I will be using some of our Leader in Me language and talking about what habits each of these topics sort of embody. And I think getting connected to your child's teacher, to their distance learning, is really about being proactive and also synergizing. When we work with each other and work together, it really makes it easier and less stressful for everybody. So this year at San Miguel, all of our teachers are using Class Dojo to communicate with families. And this is a really great app. You should have gotten an email at the beginning of the school year with a code, an invite code from your child's teacher, so that you can have access to Class Dojo. You can message your child's teacher back and forth. And the cool thing is that there are over 35 language choices, so it makes it really easy when there is a language barrier to be able to communicate. And you'll also receive announcements about our school in School Story, which is kind of like the stream. So lots of things will be posted there. So if you have not connected to Dojo, I suggest letting us know. Your teacher can very easily resend out that invite to you so that you can get connected and ask the questions you have and just hear about how your child is doing as they go through distance learning. I also want to quickly touch on some apps that you have probably heard about, and you might still be wondering, like, wait, what is this? Because there's a lot to know. So the first one I want to talk about is Clever. This is sort of it's basically a portal. So it's a portal to all of your students, your child's learning apps. So you're going to want to log in through Clever to access all the apps. And this is important because your child's teacher will know whether or not your child has been on these different learning apps when they log in through Clever. If they don't log in through Clever first and then they access a learning app, your child's teacher may not know. So we want to make sure your child is getting credit where credit is due. If you are using your own personal device or laptop and not a school Chromebook, you can access Clever through our district website, lemongrovesd.net. there is a distance learning app you can click on our website on the homepage, and you can access Clever there. So that is Clever in a nutshell. And then I also want to briefly touch on Google Classroom, because this is really where everything is going to be posted. Announcements, schedules, Zoom links will all be here in your child's Google Classroom. This is the icon you're going to look for. And when you click on that, you'll see something that looks like this. This is Miss Sovlin, our third grade teacher, one of our third grade teachers. This is her Google Classroom. When you click on this, it will bring you into the classroom. So there's going to be kind of a heading on the top. Then there's a stream, which is where announcements are posted, and class schedules and Zoom links. And some teachers also post it under classwork. They'll have headings, and then under those headings will be all the links and assignments that you need. So definitely take time to go through your child's Google Classroom and just get familiar with it. This is a Zoom link at the bottom. They just basically click on it and it brings them into their Zoom, which is their live instruction. Other learning apps to become familiar with are iReady. Our kids use this program to practice reading and math. Also Think Central. I know there were some issues with it. I think they have been resolved at this point. And then also Benchmark. So these are also apps they will be using for their assignments. So if you are needing some information or want to become more familiar with them, definitely reach out to your child's teacher. I'm sure they would be more than happy to walk you through it and show you how to use these different apps. So that is, in a nutshell, some of the important things to know about distance learning and getting connected. The next thing I want to talk about is providing structure to your child. And you can do this by creating daily routines and schedules. And this really embodies habit 1, which is being proactive. Habit 2, beginning with the end in mind. So we're thinking about kind of what is our end goal. And really habit 3, putting first things first work, then play. So what are the things we need to get done today? What are the important things we need to do leading up to our school day, and also making sure we are getting enough sleep at night. We'll talk more about that. But these habits kind of embody structure. So let's talk a little bit more about routines. So basically, routines are just things you do every day, right? A sequence of things, a sequence of events. And some of our routines can be healthy and helpful, and other times not so much. Going home every day and exercising would be a great routine to have. I think we all know that's pretty healthy. Going home and, if I were to go sit on my couch for 3 hours or until I go to bed and watch Netflix, that would be really enjoyable, but probably not a good routine to get into. So creating daily routines for our children really provides a predictable environment, and that's really important in their emotional well-being and in their mental well-being and development. And the reason for this is it really provides feelings of stability and of safety, because they know what to expect when they're at home. They know what the limits are. And when children know what to expect, it really can reduce stress and anxiety, especially with everything going on around the world today. We know our kids are seeing, they see what's going on. They know what's going on with coronavirus to a certain degree. And that can be anxiety provoking. That can cause worry, because children sometimes interpret things in a way that isn't always what's actually going on. And so that can cause some stress. And so when we create routines at home, we can help bring a little bit of peace, and it really makes for kind of an overall peaceful home. Doesn't mean it's always going to be like that all the time, but it can help. So how do you do this? Maybe you already have some routines in place and you just need to tighten things up. Maybe you have no routines in place and you're starting from scratch. A good place to start is thinking about what are the most important times in your day and being able to identify those times. For most people, that's probably going to be sleep and wake time. So what time do you get up in the morning and what time do you go to sleep, and do those times need to be changed, especially when we look at your child's school schedule, taking a look at what time their first Zoom is and when does that day sort of end. So looking at those things is a good place to start. Sleep is something you're really going to want to consider when you create these routines. For kids 3 to 5, they need anywhere from 10 to 13 hours of sleep. School age children, 6 to 13, need 9 to 11 hours of sleep, and teens need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And we will talk a little bit more about adults and kind of what they need in terms of sleep a little later. So thinking about how much sleep your child needs, and also, it takes time to wind down at the end of the day. So putting that into place as part of maybe their evening routines. But that is something that's extremely important to consider, because when we don't get enough sleep, we are not able to function nearly as well as when we do get enough sleep. So here are a few examples of some school schedules. And this is a 6th grade schedule, a 2nd grade, and a kindergarten schedule. And it may not have all of the work listed. The top one, this is a synchronous schedule. So these are the Zooms, and same with the 6th grade schedule. There's also going to be a schedule for asynchronous work. So those are things to look at as well. But take a look at when your child's first morning Zoom is, when you're thinking about how much time they need from the time they wake up until their first Zoom, so that they can be ready to go, and try to incorporate that. Whenever you try to implement something new with children, you can expect some pushback. Kids like to test the limits. That's how they learn. It's how they can differentiate between right and wrong, and learn the limits of their environment and their family. And so there are ways to implement these routines and keep it positive as it possibly can. So some suggestions would be to schedule in family time or some bonding time. And this could look like, time where you're playing a game with your child, or maybe having some snuggle time, or if they're an older child, maybe you're just sitting and chatting with them and kind of catching up on the day. But be sure to schedule in some downtime and some fun time when you're looking at those routines. When you're looking at, especially with the asynchronous work that your child has to do, and really with anything in life that you would like your child to do, you always want to offer some choices. And be sure to offer choices where you are okay with either choice, but it will still give them some autonomy. It will make them feel a little bit more in control of their life. And really what that does is it prevents meltdowns, it can prevent some blowups, can help reduce frustration for you and for them, and really helps to keep the relationship positive between you. And so an example of that would be with your child's asynchronous work. If they're really struggling with something, maybe you offer and have them choose between doing 2 other assignments they need to do, so they can kind of choose which one they would prefer. So lastly, when trying to implement something new with routines and schedules, is you do want to be consistent. Don't give up after a couple days, because it could take some time for it to become the norm, but you can be flexible, especially once you have that system in place. And once you have those routines in place, it's okay if you have a fun family event that you need to go to and your child goes to bed a little bit later. It's okay to be flexible with some of those things, but as much as possible, try to keep those things consistent. So the last thing I want to talk about is self-care. And we have heard a lot about this, especially with the pandemic. It's been talked about quite a bit. And self-care really embodies lots of the habits. Definitely habit 1, being proactive. Habit 3, putting first things first, meaning sometimes you're you need to put yourself first so that you can take care of others around you. Habit 7, for sure, sharpening the saw. We talk about that a lot with our students. What do you do to sharpen your saw? How do you take care of yourself? And our newest habit, the 8th habit, is find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. And I think all of those really speak to self-care and taking care of yourself. So one definition of self-care is any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and our physical health. And that's from Psych Central. So we're going to talk about some things you can do that are the least invasive, the easiest, and really will not take you away from what you already have going on in your life. I think we all know that, eating healthy and exercise is good for you. I'm not going to talk about that. Those are sort of the obvious things that we are always trying to do. But I wanted to talk about some other things that are equally important that you can do without spending money, without changing up your schedule too much, unless you really need to make things better for everyone. So the first thing I want to talk about is sleep hygiene and the need for good quality sleep and enough sleep. So adults, we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. And that seems like a lot. I'm sometimes happy with like 6, but in reality, we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. There's a relationship between sleep or lack of sleep and, mental health and physical health. And so, when we don't get enough sleep, we can exacerbate some of these mental health conditions and make them worse. Maybe symptoms of depression or anxiety or ADHD or bipolar disorder. Not sleeping can make some of those symptoms worse, but also, there's a complex relationship because some of those health conditions can also affect how we sleep. So when we're able to change that, and if we can have better sleep hygiene, we can actually, research is telling us that we can make some of those things better. There's also correlation between sleep deprivation and our physical health and health conditions. And so not getting enough sleep can have an effect on our hearts, on heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity. So really having good sleep can improve our overall health. And there's a link between our physical and our mental and emotional health. Those things are all intertwined and they all affect each other. So by making some slight adjustments in our sleep, we can really help to improve kind of all those areas in our life. The next thing I want to talk about is mindfulness. And this is a term you may have used. It's become very popular in our society for good reason. And it really is an ancient tradition. It's been around for thousands of years and it stems from kind of the Buddhist tradition, but it's been secularized for us in the West. And somebody who is really kind of responsible for that, or is one of the people responsible, is Jon Kabat-Zinn. And he's a very well-known mindfulness expert and created the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So instead of me trying to define what mindfulness is, I thought we could just listen to him for a second and hear how he defines it.
Mindfulness is actually a way of connecting with your life, and it's something that doesn't involve a lot of energy. It involves kind of cultivating attention in a particular way. So the way I define it is it's paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And then I like to add sometimes as if your life depended on it.
Okay. I just wanted to hear his definition of mindfulness. So paying attention in the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So really it's about being present, not focusing on the past, the things we can't change, or worrying about the future. It's really just being able to be present. And there's been lots and lots and lots of research, especially over the last probably 20 years or so, that has shown the benefits of mindfulness or mindfulness meditation. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and how you can actually incorporate some of that in your day-to-day life. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go buy a yoga mat and start doing yoga. These are things you can do, honestly, while you're sitting at home or in your office or driving in your car. Well, some of it, not all of it. I probably wouldn't do some guided imagery while you're driving. But these are things that you can do, which can help with your overall health and wellness. So mindfulness helps to reduce stress, chronic pain symptoms of depression, anxiety. It can help improve sleep. It can help improve mood. And some newer research suggests it can help improve your physical health. Some research studies I was reading about talked about how it can improve your immune response, which is really important right now as we're going through a pandemic. So if we can find ways to boost our immunity, that seems like something we should be doing. And it can also decrease cognitive decline from aging and Alzheimer's. And it's been shown to be good for our heart health. And then another study was saying that it may reduce cell aging, which is really interesting. So there's lots and lots of research about how it can benefit our mental health and our physical health. And again, as we know, those two things are very much intertwined and interrelated and really affect each other. So when we're able to tweak some things, the benefits of that can spill out into other areas of our life. So you might be wondering, well, what do I do? How do I become mindful? How do I do this mindfulness? The great thing is there are so many websites and apps that can help you with this. And really all you're doing is focusing your attention on the present moment. That's a great place just to start. And a lot of people start with just focusing on your breath and your breathing. And there are some apps I want to share with you that you can access if you have a smartphone or even on your, on a tablet, whatever you might have, whatever device you have, that are free. So you don't have to go get a gym membership or, spend money. These are things you can do if you have a phone or a computer. Insight Timer is probably my favorite one. I have this one on my phone and it has probably thousands of exercises, meditation exercises, music, for things for sleep. There's also a whole kids section on there. So really there's something for everyone on here. Even if you're just like, I don't want to do a meditation, but maybe you just want to practice breathing. There's something for everyone on here. This is a great app. I love this one. Calm is also a great one. It's well rated. I haven't used this one quite as much, but this is really good reviews. And then another one I use is Headspace. I like Headspace. It's very simple and you can choose how long you want to practice, and it starts with the basics and you kind of move up. There are some in-app purchases on that one, which of course you don't have to do, but if you just want the basics, this is a great place to start. And, I would say, even if you don't do any of this, practice taking some breaths, practice deep breathing. I do that all the time throughout the day. It really is a great way to go from a state of anxiety or worry to a state of relaxation. It really changes your autonomic nervous system just by doing some breathing and some deep breaths. So this is something you can do that is a way to cope with things, but also it's being proactive. Even if things are going great, that's okay. It's okay to still practice mindfulness and just to become even more aware of what's going on in our feelings and our emotions. The last thing I want to talk about is healthy boundaries. And, boundaries are really just knowing and understanding what your limits are. What are things that you don't want to tolerate or you won't tolerate? and really identifying those emotional and mental and physical limits. So with boundaries, we like to think of it kind of like a fence, not a wall, because a wall is that's a secure structure. That's blocking things out kind of more permanently, whereas a fence, there's some more flexibility to that, and it's good to be flexible. So, and usually with a fence, there's a gate, right, where you can open and shut it, and you can decide what you want to let in and what you do not want to let in when it comes to your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So I listed some examples of some, I think, healthy boundaries, just to give you some ideas of things you can do that are easy, that again are non-invasive, but could really help improve your stress levels and just your overall quality of life. So some examples might be limiting how much time you spend on social media. Social media has a way of sucking you in. I know, I've been there. And setting some limits around that is a great way to decompress and just to do what's good for you. Some things on social media are really great and motivating and inspiring, and other things can really kind of bring you down. And if you notice that that's happening, setting some limits around that is a great place to start. It's also okay to say no to activities and extra work commitments or volunteer things that maybe you kind of want to do, but you just don't have it in you right now. It's okay to say no and not feel guilty to those things, because you're doing what's best for you. You're creating a healthy boundary. And when we do those things, then we don't have to later on feel resentful or angry or upset. So we can feel good about the choices we make by saying no sometimes. You also might want to think about, who you choose to spend your time with, and, choosing to spend time with people who are positive and make you feel good. And, if you politely say no to a friend who tends to sort of bring you down a little bit, then, that's okay. Again, it's okay to make choices that are good for you and healthy for you and your overall well-being. And lastly, another idea and thought I had was just to make time each day to be offline, because we are spending so much time on a computer, on our phones. I mean, I'm right there with you, and our kids are too. And so having some offline time for you and your children might be a healthy boundary to think about, and really just gives us a break from all of that stimulation and just from staring at a screen. So these are just some ideas. There's lots and lots of other ways to create healthy boundaries, but these are just some, something to chew on. And that is about it for this presentation. I hope that you were able to find something that you could take away from it, and that you found it helpful. If you have any questions or you want to talk more about it, please feel free to contact me at the school, and you have my contact info. And I liked this little saying from Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Vietnamese monk, and he says, smile, breathe, and go slowly. Because that's all we can do. All we have is really just this moment right now. And so we can make some choices to try to make things a little bit easier and better for ourselves. So that is all I have. And thank you for listening, and take care. Bye-bye.